When your cat looks back before walking away, do you actually know what that means? At first it looks simple. Maybe they're just checking where you are. Maybe they heard a sound behind them. Maybe it's just one of those small habits cats do without thinking. But behind that tiny glance, there's something deeper that most people miss. It's one of the most emotionally loaded things your cat can do, because that single look often happens in a moment when they're deciding whether they still feel connected to you. And if you ignore it, which most owners do, you might miss one of the quietest ways your cat asks for reassurance without making a sound. Let's start with what that little look back really means. Number 1, it's not random, it's a social check-in. Have you ever noticed your cat walking out of the room, reaching the doorway, then suddenly turning their head to look at you before continuing? Most people think it means nothing, just a random movement, a reflex. But here's what's actually happening. Your cat is often checking whether your attention is still with them. Cats may look independent, but they constantly monitor the emotional atmosphere around the people they trust. That glance backward is often a quick social check. Are you still there? Are you watching? Are we still connected right now? In human terms, it's closer to someone leaving a room and briefly turning around to make eye contact before going. Think about that for a second. They're not asking for permission, they're confirming their relationship. And by the way, if your cat ever pauses in a doorway and waits after looking back, don't brush it off. We'll get to what that really means at the end, and it's something most owners wish they'd understood sooner. What makes this even more meaningful is that cats usually do this when they already feel safe enough to walk away. Which means the look itself is not fear, it's awareness of you. And that changes everything. Number 2, your cat's brain is tracking you more than you realize. Why would an animal that evolved as a solitary hunter care whether you're still paying attention? Here's what's actually happening. A 2021 study from University of Lincoln found that domestic cats form what researchers describe as secure social expectations around familiar humans. In simple terms, cats remember where you are, how you move, and whether your behavior changes. That means your cat isn't just living beside you. They are mentally mapping you all day. Behavioral scientists have observed that cats often glance back when transitioning between spaces because they want to confirm environmental stability before fully disengaging. And emotionally, that means your presence matters even when they seem uninterested. If they look back before leaving the sofa, before entering another room, or before jumping off the bed, they may be checking whether your mood, posture, or attention changed. Because your cat reads patterns, a calm face, a familiar voice, even your body stillness, all of that tells them nothing has shifted. And when nothing has shifted, they relax. That little glance can be their way of saying, everything still feels normal. Good. Here's what most people don't realize. Even cats that act distant often rely heavily on silent visual reassurance. They just ask for it quietly. Number 3, sometimes they're leaving a scent conversation behind. Have you ever noticed your cat looks back after brushing against your leg, your chair, or your hand? Most people assume the interaction ended when the rubbing stopped. But here's what's actually happening. Cats have scent glands around their cheeks, forehead, and body. When they rub against you, they leave behind invisible pheromones, chemical markers that signal familiarity and belonging. So when they walk away and look back, they may actually be checking the result of that exchange. Researchers who study feline behavior call this social scent reinforcement. Your cat marks something important, then visually confirms the moment. In other words, they leave part of themselves with you, then look back to make sure the connection still holds. That's why the glance often feels soft, almost slow. It's not surveillance, it's emotional continuity. Think about that for a second. Your cat touches you, leaves their scent, walks away, then checks you again. That's remarkably close to saying, you still feel like mine. I still feel safe here. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Cats don't separate scent and emotion the way humans do. To them, scent is memory, territory, and trust combined. So that backward glance may happen right after one of the strongest bonding rituals they have. And hey, if this makes sense to you, hit like and subscribe. It helps us reach more cat lovers who actually want to understand what their cat is really saying. Number 4. This behavior started long before your home existed. Why would such a small glance carry so much weight? Because this behavior is older than your living room. Here's what's actually happening. Wild feline ancestors constantly checked behind them when moving between safe points, especially after leaving a resting area. That backward glance served 2 purposes: monitor danger and confirm where trusted individuals were positioned. Domestic cats kept that instinct, but adapted it for human life. A 2019 feline cognition study from Kyoto University found that cats distinguish familiar human movement patterns and often react differently when those patterns change unexpectedly. So when your cat looks back at you before leaving, ancient survival wiring may still be active, but now you are part of the safety map. That means your cat's nervous system has placed you inside their idea of stable territory. And that's deeply primal. What makes this even more meaningful is that kittens also look back at their mother before moving away when they first begin exploring. The pattern is old: move, check, continue. Your cat may no longer need a mother for protection, but the emotional structure stayed. Now sometimes that check lands on you. Number 5, they don't do it for everyone. Have you ever noticed your cat looks back at you but walks past other people without a second glance? This is where most owners get it wrong. They assume cats treat everyone the same once they feel comfortable in a house. But here's what's actually happening. Cats are highly selective with social attention. Studies on domestic cats reveal that they reserve repeated visual checking for individuals whose reactions they've learned to value. That means your cat is not simply scanning the room. They're choosing whose presence matters enough to confirm. And they often do not do this with strangers. Sometimes they won't even do it with everyone in the same home, because selective looking means selective trust. Think about that for a second. Your cat may pass 5 people, but still turn for one person. That one glance says your behavior carries emotional weight in their world. You are not background. You are a reference. And that is much bigger than affection alone. It means your cat has built expectations around you specifically. Number 6. Sometimes that look is a quiet invitation. This is what most owners never realize. Sometimes your cat looks back before walking away because they want you to follow. Not always physically, sometimes emotionally. Here's what's actually happening. When a cat pauses, looks back, then continues slowly, they may be testing whether shared movement happens next. This is especially common when they lead you toward another room, food area, window, or resting space. Remember earlier when I said doorway pauses matter? This is what I was talking about. That pause is often not hesitation. It's waiting. Animal behavior researchers have observed that cats frequently combine backward glances with reduced walking speed when inviting trusted humans into an interaction. And emotionally, that means your cat is not leaving you. They're checking whether you'll stay part of the moment. That is a very different message. Because from their perspective, walking away while still checking you means, I'm moving, but I still want the connection active. That's a vulnerability in feline language. A creature built to hide weakness is openly making sure you remain in sync. That's not small. That's deliberate trust. Number 7. When that look suddenly stops, pay attention. And here's the part many people miss until much later. If your cat usually looks back and suddenly stops, don't ignore it. Here's what's actually happening. A sudden change in social checking can reflect stress, discomfort, overstimulation, or even physical pain. Cats often reduce visual engagement before they show obvious symptoms. If they stop glancing back, stop pausing near doorways, or stop checking your face during normal movement, something in their internal state may have shifted. That doesn't automatically mean something serious, but it does mean their emotional bandwidth changed. This is where most owners get it wrong. They wait for dramatic signs. But cats usually start with tiny absences: the missing glance, the missing pause, the missing check. So if the pattern changes, respond gently. Observe appetite, sleep, and routine. Because sometimes what disappears first is the smallest ritual. And that ritual was telling you more than you realized. So when your cat looks back before walking away, that opening question has a very different answer now. They're not just turning their heads, they're checking your presence, confirming safety, carrying scent memory, and sometimes even inviting connection without a sound. That's not random attention, that's a relationship. And that little look, the one most people barely notice, was never small to them. And it shouldn't be small to you either.